The alarms blared, red lights pulsing through Horizon Innovations Lab as Jamal Carter, a 15-year-old black kid from Chicago's South Side, stood frozen beside the Titan engine, my hand still on its fuel regulator. Security guards stormed toward me, their shouts drowned by the screech of metal threatening to explode. I'd adjusted the pressure to 28 psi, just like Grandpa Isaiah's notes said. But now the $75 million engine I'd snuck in to fix was seconds from blowing us all sky high. My heart pounded. Had I misread his designs, or had someone sabotaged my work? I ducked behind a console, the guards' flashlights slicing the dark, knowing if they caught me, it wouldn't just be my dad's job on the line, it'd be our whole future. This wasn't how I meant to prove them wrong, but here I was, a janitor's son, about to change everything or lose it all. Rewind 3 weeks, and I was just another invisible kid pushing a mop through Horizons Labs in downtown Chicago. My dad, Leon Carter, had been a janitor there for 20 years, his hands rough from bleach and his dreams buried under bills. We lived in a cramped apartment in Englewood where the radiator hissed more than it heated. Every morning at 4 a.m. I'd join him at work. Not because I loved cleaning, but because we needed every dollar since Mom left when I was 6. The engineers at Horizon, with their fancy degrees and smug grins, called me Dustboy, their laughter sharp as glass. They didn't know I was studying their world, teaching myself physics from library books and Grandpa Isaiah's journals, which I kept stashed in a shoebox. Isaiah, a mechanic from Gary, Indiana, had filled those pages with turbine designs and dreams he never got to chase. His words, engines speak truth, Jamal, listen close, were my gospel. A shield against the world's low expectations. I wasn't just a kid with a mop, I had a secret life. By day, I scrubbed Horizon's floors, but at night, I co-hosted a community radio show, Southside Sparks, on a low-watt station. Under the alias J Spark, I shared science tips for kids like me, black and brown teens who'd never see a lab otherwise. My co-host, Ms. Rosa Delgado, a retired teacher, believed in me like Grandpa did. Our latest episode, about turbine efficiency, got 500 listeners, a record. I'd hint at Horizon's failures without naming names, my voice steady but my gut twisting, with fear someone might connect the dots. Rosa always said, "Your mind's a weapon, Jamal, use it." Her faith kept me bold, but it couldn't erase the sting of Horizon's reality, where Dad and I were less than nothing to men like Dr. Victor Ramsey, the chief engineer. Ramsey was the kind of villain you don't see coming, polished, charming to execs, but cruel in private. His tailored suits and Ivy League drawl hit a vicious streak, especially toward folks like us. I'd seen him berate Dad for a smudge on a window, his eyes cold, like we were bugs he'd rather squash. Ramsey's power came from his grip on Titan, Horizon's decade-long failure. He'd built his career on it, promising breakthroughs while burying anyone who challenged him. I once overheard him tell his assistant, Claire Voss, the janitor's kid shouldn't be near my lab. He's trouble. Claire, a sharp woman with a knack for spotting threats, nodded, her gaze locking on me later like I was a puzzle to solve. Ramsey's disdain wasn't just personal. It was rooted in a belief that people like me, black, poor, uncredentialed, could never outshine him. That belief made him dangerous, and I was about to test it. The real spark came when I found Grandpa's initials, IM, etched inside Titan's housing. I was wiping down the engine's casing, my reflection warped in its chrome. When I saw it, my breath caught. Isaiah, who'd fixed trucks in Gary until cancer took him 4 years ago, had worked on this. He'd never said a word, but his journals hinted at something big, a sky project he'd poured his heart into. I started digging, sneaking glances at Ramsey's reports when he wasn't looking. Titan was bleeding $75 million, its pressure spikes at 34 psi stumping the best minds. Grandpa's notes, though, had a fix, a fuel system at 28 psi, elegant and counterintuitive. I wanted to scream it from the rooftops, but Ramsey's voice echoed in my head, "Know your place, Dustboy." So I kept quiet, my anger simmering. Like a coiled spring, Dad's health was my breaking point. His cough, a dry rasp from years of chemical fumes, landed him in Cook County Hospital with pneumonia. The bills hit $15,000, and Horizon offered no help. Janitors didn't get sick leave. I'd sit by his bed, his hand weak in mine, as he murmured, "Stay out of trouble, Jamal, we'll get by." But we weren't getting by. Horizon was planning layoffs, and Dad's name was first. I couldn't tell him about Grandpa's initials, not yet, but I confided in Rosa during our radio show. They stole his work, I whispered off air, showing her a journal sketch. Her eyes, warm but fierce, met mine. "Then take it back, mijo, but be smart." She introduced me to the Mentor Network, a secret group of Chicago's overlooked innovators, mechanics, coders, teachers who shared knowledge outside corporate gates. One mentor, Mr. Eli Grant, a retired electrician, sent me old Horizon schematics confirming Grandpa's role in Titan's design. I started tweaking Titan, in secret, sneaking into the lab after hours with Dad's key. I'd adjust valves by 0.05 inches, my hand steady but my mind racing. Each change felt like defying Ramsey himself, his smug face a shadow over every move. Claire almost caught me once, her heels clicking too close as I hid under a desk, my pulse deafening. She paused, sniffing the air like a bloodhound, then left. I exhaled, but her suspicion was a noose tightening. My radio show became my outlet, my latest episode, Engines and Justice, hinting at stolen brilliance. A listener Skypulse commented, check Horizon's 2007 files. Truth's there. Was it Eli Rosa? I didn't know, but it pushed me to the records room, where I found proof, Isaiah's designs. Credited to Ramsey, who'd pocketed millions while Grandpa got $3,500 in a handshake. The drama escalated when Ramsey cornered me in Lab 3, his voice low and venomous. You're too curious, dust boy. Curiosity gets people fired or worse. His threat wasn't idle. I'd heard rumors of a whistleblower blacklisted years ago. Claire stood behind him, her eyes calculating, like she was weighing whether to crush me or use me. I mumbled an apology, but inside, I was seething. Ramsey's power came from fear, from making us feel small, but I wasn't small. I was Isaiah's grandson, and I had his fire. That night, I told Rosa, I'm going to fix Titan. Her face tightened, but she nodded. Then do it for your grandpa, and for every kid listening to our show who's been told they're not enough. My STEM club at the community center was my refuge, where I taught kids to code simple circuits. One girl, 10-year-old Aisha, wired a light bulb and hugged me, her joy a reminder of why I fought. I started a Titan challenge on the radio, asking listeners to solve a mock engine puzzle based on Grandpa's principles. The response 700 emails stunned me, but it drew Claire's attention. She showed up at the center, her smile cold. Nice hobby, Jamal. Hope it's not distracting from your duties. Her words were a blade, and I knew Ramsey was closing in. The Mentor Network warned me to lay low, but Dad's hospital bills, now $18,000, and Horizon's layoff threats left me no choice. I had to act, even if it meant risking everything. The cliffhanger came when I snuck into the lab one last time, my hands on Titan's regulator, adjusting it to 28 psi. The engine hummed, alive in a way it hadn't been in years. But then the alarms screamed someone Ramsey Claire had rigged the system or I'd missed a step. Guards charged in, and I dove for cover, my mind racing. Had I saved Titan or doomed us all? As their boots thundered closer, I clutched Grandpa's journal. In my pocket, his words my only anchor. Truth's in the engine, Jamal. Find it. The alarms still echoed in my ears as I crouched in the shadows of Horizon Innovations Lab, my hands trembling from the near disaster with the Titan engine. I'd escaped detection that night, slipping out through a service door before the guards could pin me. But the weight of what I'd found Grandpa Isaiah's initials on a $75 million project he'd been erased from burned hotter than ever. I was Jamal Carter, a 15-year-old black kid from Chicago's South Side, and I was done being invisible. The truth about my grandfather's stolen legacy was out there, buried in Horizon's files and the arrogance of men like Dr. Victor Ramsey, and I was going to dig it up, no matter how much it scared me. Every mop I pushed, every sneer I swallowed, fueled a fire that said I wasn't just a janitor's, so I was Isaiah's heir, and I'd make them see it. The next morning I was back at Horizon, my cleaning cart rattling down the research wings, polished halls. My eyes stung from lack of sleep, but my mind was sharp, replaying Grandpa's journal entries about Titan's fuel system. His sketches, tucked away in my shoebox at home, showed a design so elegant it could cut fuel use by 25%. Yet Horizon's engineers, led by Ramsey, had botched it for a decade. I'd found proof in the records room, a 2007 contract paying Isaiah $3,500 for consulting, while Ramsey's name gleamed on patents worth millions. The theft wasn't just a crime, it was a wound, a reminder that brilliance like ours was only valued if someone else could claim it. I wanted to scream, but instead, I dusted around monitors, my hands steady as I memorized pressure readouts. Sigh, still wrong. Ramsey's voice cut through the lab, sharp and smug. If we don't stabilize Titan in 40 days, the military pulls funding. His eyes flicked to me, narrowing. Dust boy, you're slowing us down. Move. His words stung, but they also sharpened my resolve. He thought he could bury me like he buried Grandpa, but he was wrong. Home. Our Englewood apartment felt smaller with Dad in the hospital. His pneumonia was worse, the bills now at $20,000. And Horizon's threat to cut janitorial jobs loomed like a storm cloud. I sat at our wobbly kitchen table, Grandpa's journal spread out, their pages yellowed but alive with his genius. One entry, dated March 2007, described a meeting with Horizon's CEO, Nathan Holt, showed them the pressure variance fix. Holt got it, but Ramsey didn't, said it's too unorthodox, they'll regret that. My chest tightened. Grandpa had known they'd dismiss him, yet he'd trusted them. I traced his handwriting, feeling his pride and pain. Racism wasn't just the insults. It was the system that let men like Ramsey steal and thrive while men like Isaiah were forgotten. For the 25 to 55 audience, this hit home. How many had seen their work undervalued because of who they were? I needed more evidence, so I turned to the Mentor Network, the underground group Rosa Delgado had introduced me to. Eli Grant, an electrician who'd once wired Horizon's labs, met me at a Gary, Indiana diner, his weathered hands sliding me a flash drive. Isaiah's schematics from before they scrubbed him, he said, his voice low. Horizon paid him peanuts. Then Ramsey took credit. Happens too often to folks like us. Eli's story, his own patents ignored because he was black-mirrored grandpa's, and his quiet anger fueled mine. The drive held Titan's original blueprints, confirming Isaiah's design used a 28-psi regulator, not the 34-psi mess Ramsey insisted on. I felt a surge of hope, but also fear exposing this could cost Dad's job, maybe more. Eli saw my hesitation. Truth's heavy, Jamal, but it's worth carrying. You're not alone. His words were a lifeline, but the weight of what I was up against made my stomach churn. Back in Chicago, I poured my energy into Southside Sparks, our community radio show. Rosa and I recorded an episode called Hidden Innovators, where I shared a veiled story about a mechanic whose engine designs were stolen. Listeners flooded our inbox, 800 emails. Some from kids, others from adults who'd faced similar betrayals. One message, from Skypulse, read, "Look deeper into Horizon's patent logs, 2008, you'll find your answer." My pulse raced. Was this an insider? Rosa, her eyes sharp behind her glasses, warned me to be cautious. "You're poking a bear, me. Ramsey's not just cruel, he's desperate to protect his name." She was right. Ramsey's villainy wasn't just prejudice, it was survival. He'd built his career on Isaiah's work, and any hint of the truth threatened his empire. At Horizon, I'd seen him berate engineers, his charm flipping to rage when challenged. Claire Voss, his assistant, was his enforcer, her cold stare tracking me like a hawk. Once, she'd caught me near a filing cabinet and hissed, "Stay out of things you don't understand, kid." Her threat lingered, a reminder that Ramsey's power was a machine, and I was a cog he'd crush without blinking dots to test Grandpa's designs. I organized a community STEM fair at the Southside Cultural Center, a new idea to share my findings without exposing myself. I built a small-scale turbine model, using Isaiah's principles, and invited local kids to try it. Aisha, my sure-year-old protege, adjusted a valve and gasped as the model spun, hitting 15% better efficiency than Horizon's specs. The fair drew 300 people, their cheers drowning out the doubts in my head. But Claire showed up, her presence chilling. "Impressive toy," she said, her smile sharp. "Hope it's not based on anything proprietary." Her words were a dagger, implying espionage charges that could ruin us. I deflected, saying it was a school project, but my hands shook as I packed up. The fair wasn't just a success, it was a beacon, drawing Ramsey's attention. That night, my blog post on Engine Dreams about the fair got 6,000 views, and Skypulse commented again, "You're close. Check the Gary consultant files." The Mentor Network confirmed it. Horizon's Gary office held more of Isaiah's records. I took a bus to Gary, my heart pounding as I entered a dusty storage facility Horizon used for old files. Using Eli's directions, I found a box labeled 2007-8 Consultants. Inside were Isaiah's contracts, his designs annotated with Ramsey's handwriting, claiming credit. A memo from Holt praised Ramsey's genius, dated a week after Isaiah's dismissal. The betrayal was raw, like a cut that wouldn't heal. Grandpa had poured his soul into Titan, only to be erased because he was a black mechanic, not a white engineer. I photographed every page, my hand steady despite the rage boiling inside. For the audience, this moment stings. How many have seen their contributions stolen, their names left off the credits? I wanted to confront Ramsey, but Rosa's voice echoed, "Be smart, Jamal." So I planned my next move, knowing Claire. Suspicions were closing in. At the hospital, Dad's condition stabilized, but the bills hit $22,000, and Horizon's layoff notice arrived. Janitor's out in 30 days. I sat by his bed, his cough softer but his eyes heavy with worry. "You're not yourself, Jamal," he said, gripping my hand. I couldn't tell him about the files, not yet. It'd break him. Instead, I promised to focus on school, a half-truth that tasted bitter. Back at the radio station, Rosa pulled me aside. "You're carrying too much," she said, her voice soft but firm. "Let the network help." She connected me with Dr. Lena Patel, a Horizon engineer who'd quietly joined the Mentor Network after her own ideas were sidelined. Lena met me at a coffee shop, slipping me Titan's latest test data. "Your grandfather's design is the key," she whispered, "but Ramsey's watching everyone. If he catches you, he'll ruin your family." Her fear was real, but her belief in me was stronger, a spark that kept me going. Ramsey's cruelty deepened the drama. I overheard him in a meeting, his voice icy. "If Titan fails, we'll blame the support staff. They're expendable." He meant Dad, me, everyone, like us. His prejudice wasn't just personal, it was strategic, using racism to deflect his failures. Claire, ever loyal, Titan security, adding cameras to the lab. I felt her eyes on me during my shifts, her silence more threatening than words. Once, she cornered me in a hallway, her voice low. "You're too smart for your own good, Jamal. Smart kids make mistakes." I held her gaze, my heart racing but my face blank. Just doing my job, ma'am, I said, but inside, I was plotting. Ramsey's empire was built on lies, and I was chipping away at its foundation. The STEM fair grew, with Aisha and other kids building their own models. Their excitement was a bomb, but it couldn't erase the stakes. My radio show aired another episode, Stolen Sparks, hinting at corporate theft without naming Horizon. Listeners sent 1,000 emails, some sharing their own stories of erased contributions. One, from a former Horizon worker, read, "Isaiah Moore was a genius. They used him and threw him away. It was proof I wasn't alone, but also a warning Ramsey's reach was long." I adjusted Titan again, tweaking a valve to 0.07 inches, and the data Lena sent showed a 12% stability boost. But Claire's shadow loomed, and I knew my next move would be the riskiest yet. Grandpa's voice rang in my head. "Truth's in the engine, Jamal." I was close, but Ramsey's desperation was a storm, and I was walking straight into it. The Titan engine's hum still lingered in my mind, a fleeting promise of what could be, as I slipped out of Horizon Innovations Lab that night, my heart pounding from the alarms that nearly exposed me. I was Jamal Carter, a 15-year-old black kid from Chicago's South Side, carrying my grandfather Isaiah's legacy like a torch in the dark. His stolen designs, buried by men like Dr. Victor Ramsey, were my map to proving we weren't just janitors or dust boys. But every step I took toward fixing Titan pushed me closer to a Cliff Dad's job, our home. My future all hung in the balance. Ramsey's threats echoed in my head, his cold eyes promising ruin if I didn't stay in my place. Yet Grandpa's voice was louder. "Listen to the engine, Jamal, it'll tell you the truth." I was listening, and I wasn't backing down, even if it meant risking everything to make Horizon see the brilliance they'd tried to erase. Back at our Englewood apartment, the silence was heavy without Dad's presence. He was still in Cook County Hospital, his pneumonia stealing his strength while bills climbed to $25,000. Horizon's layoff notice had landed like a punch, naming Dad among the first to go in 25 days if Titan didn't work. I sat at our kitchen table, Grandpa's journals open, their sketches of Titan's fuel system my only guide. I'd tweaked the engine's regulator to 28 CRI, and Lena Patel's data showed a 12% stability boost, but it wasn't enough. Ramsey's team kept reverting my changes, their arrogance, blinding them to Isaiah's genius. I wanted to tell Dad, to share the hope I felt, but his warning from the hospital stopped me. "Don't stir trouble, Jamal, we can't afford it." His fear clashed with my fire and it tore me apart. I loved him, but I couldn't let Ramsey win, not when I knew the truth. Racism wasn't just the sneers, it was the system that let a man like Ramsey steal Grandpa's work and call it progress. While we scraped by in the shadows, I needed a plan, so I leaned on the Mentor Network, the underground group of Chicago's overlooked innovators. Rosa Delgado, my radio co-host, connected me with a new ally, Marcus Tate, a former Horizon technician who'd been fired for questioning Ramsey's methods. We met in a Southside library, his graying beard framing a face etched with defiance. "Isaiah was a visionary," Marcus said, handing me a notebook of Titan's early test logs. "Ramsey took his ideas and twisted them to fit aerospace dogma. That's why it fails." The logs showed Isaiah's 28-side design worked briefly in 2008 before Ramsey's improvements broke it. Marcus's story, his career derailed, for being black and outspoken, mirrored Dad's struggles, and it hit me hard. For the 25 to 55 audience, this resonates. How many have fought systems that punish truth? Marcus's advice was blunt: fix Titan, but cover your tracks. Ramsey's not just cruel, he's scared. You'll expose him. Ramsey's villainy was a storm cloud over Horizon. He wasn't just prejudiced, he was a predator, guarding his stolen empire with a mix of charm and venom. I'd seen him schmooze executives, his smile polished, but in the labs, he was ruthless, berating engineers and janitors alike. Once, I overheard him tell Claire Voss, "If Titan fails, I'll make sure the blame lands on the support staff. They're disposable." His words weren't just a threat, they were a strategy, using racism to deflect his incompetence. Claire, his sharp-eyed assistant, was his weapon, her loyalty fueled by ambition. She'd cornered me in a hallway, her voice icy. "You're playing a dangerous game, Jamal. Smart kids don't last long here." Her stare was a warning, but I saw a flicker of doubt, like she knew Ramsey's house of cards was shaky. I mumbled, "Just cleaning, ma'am," but my mind was racing. Ramsey's fear of exposure made him more dangerous, and I was his biggest threat to test Isaiah's designs without drawing suspicion. I launched a citywide STEM hackathon through Southside Sparks. The idea was new, a public challenge to build efficient mini-turbines, veiled as a school project but based on Grandpa's principles. I organized it at the Chicago Cultural Center, drawing 400 kids from across the city. Aisha, my sheer-old protege, led a team that built a model hitting 18% efficiency, better than Horizon's latest tests. Her grin as it spun was pure joy, and I felt Grandpa's pride in my chest. The hackathon wasn't just a cup, it was a rebellion, showing kids like us we could outshine the elite. But But Claire showed up, her presence like a cold wind. "Clever event," she said, eyeing my model. "Hope you're not borrowing from Horizon's playbook." Her threat lingered, but the crowd's cheers drowned it out. My radio episode that night, Sparks of Change, shared the hackathon's success, earning 1,200 emails. Skyples commented, "You're shaking things up. Check Titan's secondary valves." It was a clue, and I knew I had to act fast. Back at Horizon, I devised a covert signal system with Lena and Marcus. Lena left sticky notes with coded test data under my cleaning cart, while Marcus hacked into Horizon's old security feeds, sending me clips of Isaiah's 2008 demos. One showed Grandpa adjusting Titan's valves to 0.06 inches, his hand steady, as Ramsey watched, unimpressed. The clip cut deep. Grandpa's brilliance dismissed because he was a black mechanic, not a white PhD. I snuck into the lab again, using Lena's data to tweak a secondary valve. The engine's hum deepened, stability hitting 15%, but Claire's new cameras nearly caught me. I dove behind a crate, my breath shallow as her heels clicked past. Her voice, sharp on a radio, reported suspicious activity. I escaped, but my heart pounded with the truth. I was running out of time. Dad's hospital room was my anchor, but also my breaking point. I visited after school, his face pale but his eyes sharp. "You're distracted, Jamel," he said, his cough softer but still there. I wanted to tell him about Titan, about Grandpa, but his fear stopped me. "Focus on school," he said. "Horizon's not our fight." His words hurt, like he was asking me to shrink, to accept the world's limits. I argued, my voice cracking. "They stole Grandpa's work. Dad, I can fix it." His eyes widened and softened with worry. "You're my son, not a hero. We survive, not fight." I stormed out, tears burning, because surviving wasn't enough anymore. Racism had taken Grandpa's legacy, Dad's health. Our future. I couldn't just survive that. The audience feels this clash, the pain of choosing between family and justice, a universal struggle. The hackathon grew, with Aisha's team winning a local award. I mentored them, teaching valve calibration. But my mind was on Titan. Lena's latest note showed my changes held, but Ramsey's team was fighting back, resetting valves to 34 psi. I overheard him in a meeting, his voice tight. "Someone's tampering. Find them, or we lose everything." His fear was palpable. He wasn't just protecting his career, he was guarding a lie that defined him. Claire doubled security, adding keypad locks, and I knew my next move would be my riskiest. Marcus warned me, "Ramsey's desperate, he'll ruin you to save himself." But Rosa, during our radio show, gripped my shoulder. "You're doing this for Isaiah, for Aisha, for all of us. Keep going." Her faith was a spark, but the weight of Dad's hospital bills, now $28,000, and Horizon's layoffs pressed harder. I planned one last lab break-in, using Marcus's security feed to dodge cameras. I adjusted Titan's primary regulator to 28 psi, my hands guided by Grandpa's sketches. The engine purred, a sound so pure it felt like his voice. But as I worked, a shadow moved Claire, her radio crackling. "Intruder in Lab 7, she said, her voice calm but deadly. I froze, my heart in my throat, knowing Ramsey's wrath was seconds away. Had I pushed too far? Or was this the moment I'd finally make them listen? Claire Voss's voice cut through the lab's darkness like a blade, her radio crackling with the word intruder as I, Jamal Carter, crouched beside the Titan engine, my hand still warm from its metal. The regulator I'd set to 28C hummed softly, a whisper of Grandpa Isaiah's genius. But now, Horizon Innovations security was closing in, their boots echoing in the Chicago lab. I was a 15-year-old black kid from Englewood, caught in the heart of a $75 million project I'd dared to fix. And the weight of what I'd started exposing, Ramsey's theft of Grandpa's designs, felt like it could crush me. My heart pounded, but Grandpa's words steadied me. "Truth's in the engine, Jamal, find it." I slid behind a console, my breath shallow, knowing this wasn't just about saving Titan, it was about proving we weren't invisible, no matter how much men like Victor Ramsey wanted us to be. The next morning, Horizon's presentation hall buzzed with anticipation, the air thick with the scent of coffee and ambition. Military generals, investors, and board members filled the seats, their eyes on the Titan engine, gleaming center stage. I sat in the back, my school clothes out of place among suits, my presence a reluctant concession after Lena Patel's plea to CEO Nathan Holtet. Out of the hospital, but frail, sat beside me, his hospital band still on his wrist. His cough was softer, but his worry was loud, his hand gripping mine as Ramsey took the stage. Ramsey, with his tailored blazer and practiced charm, spun a tale of Titan's revolutionary fuel system, every word a theft from Grandpa Isaiah's 2007 designs. My stomach churned as he claimed credit, his smile a mask hiding the desperation I'd seen in his eyes. He wasn't just a villain, he was a man clinging to a lie. His career built on erasing black brilliance like Grandpa's. For the 2555 audience, this stings. How many have watched their work stolen by someone with more power? The demo began, Titan's hum filling the room as my changes 28 psi, 0.06-inch valve tweaks held strong. The crowd leaned forward, generals scribbling notes, investors whispering about stock prices. Then it happened. Warning lights flashed, pressure spiking to 36 psi. Ramsey's face paled. He'd reverted my settings that morning, convinced his aerospace standards were superior. The engine screeched, a discordant wail, and alarms blared signaling catastrophic failure. Evacuation sirens kicked in, the crowd stirring as technicians shouted, "Shut it down." Ramsey fumbled at the controls, his charm gone, replaced by panic. Claire stood by him, her eyes darting to me, suspicion sharp. I knew then they'd sabotaged my work to protect Ramsey's lie, risking lives to save his reputation. I couldn't stay silent. I stood, my voice cutting through the chaos. Reset the regulator to 28 psi. It's fighting the wrong flow. Ramsey spun, his face a mask of rage. "Security, remove that kid," he barked. But General Sarah Coleman, a steely-eyed officer, raised a hand. "Let him speak." "What's this about?" My heart raced, but Dad's nod gave me courage. "My grandfather, Isaiah Moore, designed Titan's fuel system. They stole it, changed it, and that's why it's failing." The room went quiet, the engines wailed deafening. Claire stepped forward, her voice cold. "He's a janitor's son. Delusional. He's sabotaging us." But Lena Patel pushed through, her voice steady. "He's right. I've seen the original designs." The generals exchanged glances, and Holt's face tightened, his calculated calm cracking. The engine's vibrations shook the stage, metal groaning under stress. A technician yelled, "Containment won't hold. We've got 20 seconds." I broke free from security, sprinting to Titan, Lena at my side. Ramsey blocked my path, his eyes wild. "You'll destroy everything," you shouted. But General Cole's voice boomed. "Let him try, or we lose it all." I reached the regulator, my hand shaking as I dialed it back to 28 psi, guided by Grandpa's sketches etched in my mind. Lena adjusted a valve, her trust in me a lifeline. For agonizing seconds, nothing changed. The alarms screamed, the crowd braced for disaster. Then, slowly, the engine's wail softened, its hum returning, pure and steady. Warning lights blinked out, pressure dropping to normal. Titan was alive, hitting 22% efficiency, better than Horizon's wildest dreams. The room froze, then erupted. In gasps, generals clapping, investors stunned. I stepped back, my chest heaving, Dad's pride radiating beside me. But Ramsey wasn't done. "This proves nothing," he shouted, lunging for the controls to shut it down. Before he could, Eli Grant, the Mentor Network's electrician, strode in, a laptop under his arm. "Everyone needs to see this," he said, plugging into the presentation system. Security footage from 2008 flickered on screen. Grandpa Isaiah explaining Titan's fuel system to a younger Holt, Ramsey taking notes, then later claiming the design as his own. Another clip showed Ramsey erasing Isaiah's name from patent drafts. The crowd murmured, generals glaring at Holt. Lena spoke up. "Jamal restored Isaiah Moore's original design. Ramsey's changes caused the failure." Claire's face paled, her loyalty wavering as Ramsey's lie unraveled. My Southside Sparks radio show had sparked a fire beyond the lab. After the hackathon, I'd launched a social media campaign, #TruthInEngines, posting veiled hints about Horizon's theft. It went viral, with 75,000 shares by morning. Chicago locals rallying behind Jace Park. A listener, Skypulse, had started a public petition, demanding Horizon credit Isaiah by the demo. It had 10,000 signatures. Its weight felt in the hall as reporters whispered about a scandal. General Coleman turned to Holt, her voice sharp. "You buried a black man's genius and nearly cost us lives. My report will say so." Holt's jaw tightened, his empire crumbling. Ramsey cornered, stammered, "This is a misunderstanding." But the footage was undeniable. His theft laid bare. The drama wasn't just in the engine, it was in me, torn between triumph and fear. I'd saved Titan, but at what cost? Dad's job was still on the line, and Ramsey's glare promised revenge. Claire, silent now, watched me with new eyes, like she saw the crack in her boss's armor. Rosa Delgado, listening to the radio stream at the cultural center, texted me, "You did it, mijo. Isaiah's proud." But I wasn't done. I stepped forward, my voice steady. "My grandfather solved this in 2007. You stole his work because he was a black mechanic, not a white engineer. I'm here to set it right." The crowd hushed, generals nodding, investors scribbling. Holt raised a hand, his voice smooth but strained. "Jamal, your passion is noted. We'll investigate." It was a dodge, but I saw fear in his eyes. He knew the truth was out. Aisha, my protege, was at the hackathon after party, her team's mini turban on display. She FaceTimed me, her grin wide. "You fixed it, Jamal. You're a hero." Her joy was pure, but it couldn't erase the stakes. Ramsey's desperation was a live wire. He'd lost control, and men like him didn't fall quietly. Claire whispered to him, her face unreadable, and I wondered if she'd turn on him or double down. Lena pulled me aside, her voice low. "You've shaken them, but they'll fight back. Stay sharp." The Mentor Network had my back. but the petition's momentum was my real shield. Chicago's voice is demanding justice. For the audience, this moment is electric triumph over racism, anger at betrayal, awe at a kid's courage. As the crowd dispersed, Dad put his arm around me, his voice soft. "You're braver than I ever was." His pride was a bomb, but his frailty reminded me of the cost. Horizon's board huddled, their faces grim, and I knew the fight wasn't over. Ramsey's lie had crumbled, but Holt's power was still a war. My radio show aired that night, Justice Runs, breaking 100,000 listeners as I shared Grandpa's story, not naming Horizon but letting the truth sing. The petition hit 15,000 signatures, and Skypulse messaged, "You've started a fire, finish it." I stood in the lab's shadow, Titan humming behind me, knowing I'd exposed Ramsey's theft but not yet won Grandpa's legacy. The real battle was coming, and I was ready to face it, for Isaiah, for Dad, for every voice, silenced by men like Ramsey. The Titan engine's steady hum was a distant memory as I stood outside Horizon Innovation's Chicago headquarters, the city's skyline shimmering under a late August moon. I was Jamal Carter, a 15-year-old black kid from Englewood, no longer just a janitor's son, but the one who'd revived a $75 million project and exposed a decade of stolen brilliance. My grandfather Isaiah Moore's designs had powered that victory, forcing Horizon to face its prejudice, but the fight hadn't ended in that presentation hall. Victor Ramsey's lies had collapsed, but Nathan Holt's empire still loomed. His promises of reform a fragile thread. My #Truth and Engines campaign, now with 120,000 followers, and a petition with 20,000 signatures kept the pressure on. But as I walked home with Dad, his steps slow from months in the hospital, I felt the weight of what we'd nearly lost. Home, his health, our future. Grandpa's voice echoed in my heart. "Truth's in the engine, Jamal, finish it." I was determined to make Isaiah's legacy a beacon for every voice silenced by racism, and to show the world that brilliance didn't need a title to shine. Horizon's reckoning came swift and hard. Ramsey's office was emptied within hours of the Titan demo. His career in ruins after Eli Grant's footage proved he'd stolen Grandpa's designs. He wasn't just a thief, he was a man undone by his own arrogance, believing a black mechanic's work could never outshine his. I'd seen him in that final moment, his face ashen as generals condemned him, his charm useless against the truth. Claire Voss, his assistant, had slipped away during the chaos, her loyalty crumbling when the evidence hit. Whispers said she'd taken a job at a rival firm, her ambition no match for the scandal she'd helped fuel. Holt clung to his CEO title longer, issuing a slick apology for historical oversights. But the Mentor Network uncovered emails showing he'd greenlit Ramsey's theft, banking on Isaiah's race to keep it buried. For the 25 to 55 audience, this hits deep. How many have seen leaders hide behind polished words while perpetuating injustice? Dad's return home was my anchor. Our Englewood apartment felt warmer with him back, though his pneumonia had left him thinner, his eyes carrying the weight of $32,000 in hospital bills. Horizon rehired him as a facilities consultant, a $70,000 a year role that used his quiet wisdom from years of watching engineers. He sat at our kitchen table, reviewing settlement papers, his pride in me fierce but tempered by caution. "You took on a machine, Jamal," he said, his voice steady. "But machines don't forget." I showed him the petition, now at 25,000 signatures, demanding Isaiah's recognition. My radio show, Southside Sparks, aired Legacy Unburied, hitting 200,000 listeners as I shared Grandpa's story. Veiled to protect us but raw with truth. Rosa Delgado, my co-host, gripped my hand after the broadcast, her eyes shining. "You're rewriting history, mijo, don't stop." Her belief was a spark, but Holt's refusal to fully admit fault told me the fight was far from over. Horizon's board, under pressure from the military and investors, launched a deep review. Lena Patel, now chief engineer, spearheaded it, her calm resolve a stark contrast to Ramsey's venom. She met me at a Southside diner, her tablet showing Titans, new data 28% efficiency, rewriting aerospace standards. "Your grandfather's work is changing the industry," she said, but her eyes were serious. Holt's fighting to save face. "We need to push harder." Lena, a Mentor Network member, had seen her own designs sidelined for being a woman of color, and her fight mirrored mine. She proposed a Restorative Justice Council, a bold idea to credit Horizon's forgotten contributors. I joined, representing Isaiah, and we uncovered 5 more erased innovators, Black, Latino women whose work had been buried. The council's work was grueling, but it was justice, a step toward dismantling the racism that let Ramsey and Holt thrive. The audience feels this hope, the slow burn of change against systemic prejudice. My STEM hackathon had sparked a national symposium, a new platform at Chicago's McCormick Place, drawing 1,500 students. Aisha, my Shia-rolled protege, showcased her mini-turban, now at 22% efficiency, earning cheers from the crowd. Her hug afterward, "You're my hero, Jamal," was a light in the dark. The symposium wasn't just about tech, it was a stage for kids like us, black, brown, and overlooked, to claim their place. My blog Engine Dreams live streamed it, hitting 300,000 views. With Skypulse commenting, "You've lit a fire, Jamal." Eli Grant secured funding from Chicago businesses, his own story of erased patents fueling his passion. Rosa turned the event into a podcast episode, Future Sparks, while Marcus Tate, the fired technician, taught coding workshops for the audience. This is pure joy, a generation rising against the odds. Holt's resignation came 6 weeks later, forced by lawsuits and a board fed up with his evasions. The Mentor Network's evidence his emails approving Ramsey's thefts. His fate. Lena took over her policies, hiring 60% more Black and Latino engineers and mandating transparent patent credits. Horizon added Isaiah's name to 14 patents. With $1.2 million in royalties funding my college and the Isaiah Moore Innovation Fund, a scholarship for 35 minority students yearly. In a Horizon boardroom, I signed the settlement with Dad, his hand warm on mine. Isaiah would be so proud, he whispered, tears falling. The scholarship was more than money, it was a vow that no kid like me would be dismissed again. The Isaiah Moore Innovation Hub rose in Grandpa's Gary, Indiana garage, transformed with military and Mentor Network funds into a STEM beacon. Isaiah's workbench stood at its center, a mural of his smile above it. I taught turbine classes, Aisha, my star student, her mini turbine now in local schools. Rosa ran podcast sessions, unsung voices hitting 300,000 downloads, sharing stories of overlooked innovators. Eli taught circuitry, Marcus coding. Their classes packed with teens. The hub was a revolution, proving brilliance didn't need a corner office. Lena's counsel became a national model, and Dad's new role at Horizon, blending his janitorial wisdom with technical insight, earned him respect he'd never had. He told me one night, "You showed me the world can change. Jamal, I was scared, but you were right." His words healed our old fights. But the real healing was in knowing we'd fought racism and won. Standing in the hub, surrounded by kids tinkering with circuits, I reflected on my journey. I'd started as dust boy, mocked and invisible, carrying Grandpa's journals like a secret weapon. Racism tried to erase U.S. Grandpa's genius, Dad's dignity, my future, but I learned that truth is stronger than prejudice if you're brave enough to wield it. Courage wasn't just sneaking into labs, it was believing my voice mattered, even when Ramsey's sneers said it didn't. The Mentor Network. Rosa, Lena, Eli, Isa, they taught me no one fights alone. Change isn't instant, it's a fire. You build, spark by spark, until it burns bright enough for all to see. I looked at the mural, Grandpa's eyes warm, and knew I'd honored him, not just by fixing Titan but by building a world where kids like Aisha could dream without limits. If you were in my shoes, facing socioeconomic bias, racial and gender discrimination, how would you approach it to achieve the best outcome? Would you risk everything for truth, or find another way to make your voice heard? The hub's lights glowed, a testament to what's possible when you refuse to stay silent. And I carried that fire forward, ready for whatever came next.